Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Hot Pepper Air Conditioning and Farewell Speech by Okada Toshiki, which I'm reading out of the Methuen Drama Anthology of Modern Asian Plays. So this is a contemporary Japanese trilogy of short plays. There are three, each of the three plays, Hot Pepper, Air Conditioning, and The Farewell Speech. Each of these is its own very short play, all interconnected. They are all related to the same office space and the same sets of themes. And those themes are really like the precarity of labor in contemporary Japan, which is very similar to the conditions here in the contemporary US, and the difficulty of communication, the challenges of actually having meaningful discussions with other people. So, Hot Pepper, Hotopepa in Japanese, I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize if I am. Kuura is air conditioner, and Shoshiti o Wakare no Aisatsu would be the farewell speech. Again, my pronunciation is probably terrible. I don't speak Japanese. I apologize. But Hot Pepper, it has three temps, three temporary office workers. They are charged with planning a party for another temp, Erica, who's going to be leaving the company because her contract has been terminated. So this play premiered. This play was written and premiered in 2009 after the 2008 financial crash. One of the things that happened in Japan, as in many other places, is that temporary workers, short-term workers, became much more precarious. In the aftermath of the financial crash, a lot of people lost their jobs. Their contracts were terminated, whatever it is. At the same time, there was a shift that 2008 increased the shift away from full-time labor with benefits to temporary workers, contingent workers, contract workers without benefits. So these three temps have been charged with planning this farewell party for this woman, Erica, who has been terminated. Her contract has been canceled. For no apparent reason other than 2008 financial crash. What's interesting about it is that it's a set of monologues rather than dialogue. And the monologues are repetitive. They circle back to the same issues and the same uncertainties, the same insecurities, things like this. So I'm gonna read you the first one and then sort of sum up Temp 3's first monologue. So Temp 1, first bit we get in the play. You know, the farewell party for Erica that's coming up. The three of us temps are supposed to organize it, right? What kind of party do you think it should be? The date hasn't been set yet, has it? Or has the date been set? It hasn't, right? I mean, the three of us temps are supposed to organize it, right? And the location of the party, the restaurant, what kind of restaurant it should be hasn't been decided yet either, right? Or was it decided? What direction should we go in terms of what kind of restaurant? We haven't decided yet, right? About the farewell party for Erica that's coming up? It would be best if, as the organizers, among the three of us, if anybody has any idea about what kind of restaurant. So, anyone? What do you think? Aren't there any strong opinions, I mean, as the organizer? As the organizers kind of thing? Anything in particular? The three of us temps are supposed to organize it, right? What do you think? If there aren't any, strong opinions as the organizers, I happen to have a hot pepper today, but it would be best if, as the organizers, among the three of us, if anybody has an idea about what kind of restaurant. Is there anyone here who knows what Erica likes to eat? What do you think? Is there anyone here who knows what she doesn't like? Anyone? If there isn't, I happen to have a hot pepper today, and in hot pepper there are restaurants listed by different categories, like Japanese food or other Asian food. So among those categories, is there anyone here who knows what Erica likes to eat? The three of us temps are supposed to organize it, right? What kind of party do you think it should be? I've never organized anything like this before, so I'm kind of stuck. So it would be best if, as the organizers among the three of us, if anybody had any idea about what kind of restaurant. It's so repetitive, so circular, the same points, the same ideas over and over again, the same phrases over and over again. And actually, I just thought about this as I was reading this. This would be a nightmare to perform, right? Because often when you're on stage, a monologue will have a logical flow to it, right? It will move through ideas, and you can sort of cue yourself based on the previous ideas. When you're in dialogue with someone, typically, though not always, the dialogue is based on a response to what the previous person has said. And so you can you can sort of build that memory of what you are supposed to say based on what's a logical response to the thing that the other person had just said. This is, in this printing, basically a 2/3 of a page long monologue repeating the same ideas over and over again with uncertainties, with utterances that don't add anything, like rights added in, or I happen to have things like this. These like verbal digressions that would be so hard to remember to do in the right order. This would be an incredibly difficult. And all three of the Temp's pieces, altogether, there are 10 of these monologues among the Temps. It would be so difficult to actually remember it and to actually say everything correctly. Another interesting bit of Hot Pepper is that it has subtitles. You can see down there at the bottom. So the subtitles, this is not subtitles in the sense of like translating from, I don't know, Japanese, the way that this was originally written in Japanese, obviously, translating from Japanese and English. This subtitles in the sense of giving more information. So the subtitle for the first monologue here says, Hot Pepper is a free monthly coupon magazine published by Recruit Company. It's published regionally all over Japan and comes out every last Friday of the month and distributed on street corners and convenience stores and the like. They also offer the same service online on their website that can be accessed by computer or cell phone. Most of the coupons are for restaurants or other such dining establishments, but they also have other categories such as beauty-related sections for salons and a culture section, and then in brackets from the Wikipedia Japan entry, Hot Pepper, close brackets. So that's an interesting element, both because the use of multimedia is very, very popular in contemporary theater. It can be a really good way of adding additional information. But the fact that many of the subtitles, the information is taken directly from Wikipedia is really interesting in terms of access to knowledge and global communication. Because that's one of the great things about Wikipedia is it's conversational in the sense that anyone can go in and edit and make changes and work with the editors, work with others who contribute, et cetera, to generate knowledge through this almost conversational process. So that's a really interesting element. Temp 3 points out that it's somewhat unfair that they, as temps, have been put in charge of organizing this farewell party, even though it is for a fellow temp, and that this should be something that the full-time people get the responsibility for doing, because the temps are already exploited labor, and it's unfair to ask them to do more stuff when their own contracts are insecure, and they each decide that they're likely to be fired at some point. So by the end of the play, they each sort of establish what kind of restaurant they would want their farewell party at when they get terminated, not if they get terminated. So that's hot pepper. The second one is the air conditioner, or air conditioner. This has two characters, full-time worker man and full-time worker woman. The first portion, and this is extremely repetitive as well. This does the same kind of thing that we saw in that monologue. You have the same ideas processed over and over again, circling around, etc., etc. So in the first portion, full-time worker man is talking about political talk shows to full-time worker woman, who doesn't seem especially interested in it. And what he says, when he talks about here is, you know how those guys are like, those kinds of people, those people have, how can I describe it? I'm watching them, right? And then I always think that I can learn something from them. This is what I think while I'm watching, if I may, that I learn from their relentless, aggressive way of talking, continuous, and they talk without conceding until they get their point across. Like they know what they want to say, and they talk until they've had their say. Full-time worker woman says yes. Full-time worker man says, like, that's their deal, right? And it's like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like they have their agenda, right? And like those kinds of people. So they have to say what they have to say, those kinds of people. And even if someone tries to interject or comes in shouting from the side, they completely ignore them. And they just keep talking over each other so aggressively to the point where it's totally like, whoa, or like they've got to be doing that on purpose. And they go on there like it's totally normal and it's amazing. Like, do they really have to take it that far? And I always think, yeah, they do have to take it that far. And I should too, every time I see them. And there's always a moment where I'm like, it's okay, right? It's okay, you know? Or like, is it really okay to be so ruthless? It's like they train themselves to be that way. Full-time worker woman says, yes, I'm kind of cold. Full-time worker man says, they really do train themselves in a sense. At least that's the way it seems to me, you know, when I watch those kinds of people. On the one hand, I feel like I could really learn something from them as a member of society, you know. I mean, at least a little bit. That's the impact they have on me, which is pretty deep, you know. And then the scene ends. So this, of course, introduces the theme of the impossibility of communication as a genuinely dialogic act in which one character is talking to another in a meaningful way and absorbing the things that the other character has said. And that kind of comes through for the rest of this section, this short play. Most of it is focused on this woman's concern that someone keeps setting the air conditioning to 23 degrees Celsius and putting it on high. And because she sits right under the air conditioning vent, she gets really, really cold. And she says, I'm like, what do you call it? I tend to have poor circulation a little. And full-time worker man says, oh, for women, it might be a little bit rough. Yeah. And full-time worker woman says, yes, or like, it's the poor circulation. Really not that I'm a woman, but you know. And they go on like this. And full-time worker man just sort of keeps coming back to this idea that somehow the complaint about her being cold is connected to her being a woman rather than anything else. And he keeps suggesting that she call the police, which seems like a very odd reaction to someone keeps lowering the air conditioning in the office. But hey, maybe that's a crime in Japan. I don't know. And so she keeps sort of talking about her suffering in this cold temperature. And he keeps talking about the police and how women are more sensitive to cold, even though she's like, yeah, that's not what's going on. And so neither of them is really listening to each other. They are both just sort of having their own conversations. And again, this is one of the sort of the thematics of this play, or of this set of plays, is this idea of the impossibility of communication particularly in a somewhat artificial environment like the workplace, where workers are precarious and there are sort of limitations to what anyone's position may be. Then the third play, the farewell speech. This is largely a monologue from Erica at her farewell party that was planned in Hot Pepper. She tells these sort of odd stories. The first of the odd stories is about sometimes imagining that her shoes are penguins and building these like stories around them meeting and having an egg and having to keep the egg warm. But then she tells this extended story about how she left her apartment that morning and she accidentally stepped on a cicada that was in the hallway outside her apartment door. And there's this sense of the inevitability of this, that there was no way she could have avoided stepping on this cicada. And of course, that connects thematically with her own experience. This idea that I am being let go from this job, and there's no way I could have avoided it. There's nothing that I could have done to prevent this negative experience. And so again, it's an interesting cycle of plays. I don't know that I would enjoy watching it, to be honest. I wasn't massively a fan of it as I was reading it because of all the repetition and the uncertainty and this sort of thing. And that's a very distinct theatrical style. There are contemporary playwrights who like that style. And I mean, it seems like Okada is one of them. I'm not a huge fan of it personally.